Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Windle. We recently did a Year 11 How to Revise event at school, and it was really well received by parents and students. So we thought that anybody who might have missed out on that evening, and anybody from any other years who are looking to improve what they're doing in terms of their self-study at home, would really benefit from a recap of the types of revision that we advise in school, how to do it and how to study at home most effectively. Revision is the process of looking again, studying information that's been studied before. So it's really important that we're at school as often as we can and we don't miss those vital lessons delivered by our amazing teachers who've got all that subject knowledge to share with you every single day. You've got to have studied it first in order to then revise and study at home. This first technique that I'm going to talk to you about, self-quizzing, is a little bit like spelling. When you did that, perhaps when you were back in primary school, or perhaps when you've been looking at learning spellings more recently, you look at it, you cover it up, you write it down, and you check whether or not you've got it right. Now, self-quizzing can be written or it can be verbal, but the most effective way is when you have no cues to help you. Create some questions for yourself using a knowledge organiser. That could be one of the packs that we've given you, or the electronic version that's on the website, or a revision guide, or get another person to quiz you. Write down or say everything that you can remember. It doesn't need to be word for word. Then look back at the information that you've got, and if you've missed anything out or written anything down incorrectly, highlight it. That's the thing that you need to go back and revise. The most effective way to do this is through retrieval, which means getting all the information you can remember out of your head, and there are a variety of ways that we can do this. Finally, and this is the most important stage, make sure you look back at the information, and if you've missed anything out or you've written anything down wrong, change it or make a note of the parts that you struggle to remember. This is you being aware of your strengths and your areas for development, which means that you can get better at the things that you need to get better at. There's also lots of quizzes online that you can use too. A favourite of mine is Quizlet, where you've got pre-prepared questions that you can answer, and as well as lots of homework that's set via quizzes, but there are other things that you can try online and on other websites as well, where there's pre-prepared quizzes that you can do that either your teacher will direct you to or you can find for yourselves. The next technique that I'm going to talk to you about is brain dumps, and this one is really simple. Take a blank piece of paper, no cheating by looking at the notes in your book, and write down everything that you can remember about the topic, everything that you can retrieve. You could do this as a mind map or a spider diagram. You might want to use the following headings: what revision is, how to revise, why to revise, as an example of what I would do in terms of brain dumping, what I'm talking about today. So maybe jot yourself some headings down and then write down everything that you can know in one go from your head. Again, the feedback stage here is really important, but you could add another layer this time. Compare your notes with a partner. Maybe you're revising or you're working and you're studying together. Have you got the same? If it's different, what do you need to change or add? Finally, take a look at your notes, take a look at the original, maybe your exercise book or your knowledge organiser, and see if there's anything else that you've missed or written down incorrectly. Lastly, flashcards, a super favourite of mine. They're really simple, as they're just cards with a question on one side and an answer on the other that you can use to self-quiz or to quiz with a partner. However, I'm going to show you a very specific method for using these, and this one is called the lengthier method. To finish this off really well when you're using flashcards and practice using that method, you've got 3 different boxes, and at home I've got a version of this set up on my dining room table, and I've got actually colour coded them because I love it this much. So I've got a green box, a yellow box and a red box, and equally you could just have a bit of cardboard, or you could just even put them in 3 different piles. And what you do is you do your flashcard, and either on your own or with somebody else who's asking you the question, you can decide for yourself, did I know it, in case it goes in the first box? Did I know it mostly, but maybe I made some errors, I made a slight mistake, it goes in the second box. And if I just did not know it at all, it goes in the last box, the one where I know I need to revisit it more often. Anything in your red pile or your end pile, your third pile, needs to be revisited, ideally a few times a week. Anything that you just made a little mistake on, you can come back to that once, twice a week. And then the ones that you know already really well, you can visit that less often, once a week, or even spacing that out even further, because they're the things that you already know. Again, all of these methods are a way of you knowing, what do I know, what do I need to go back and revise and remember. We know that in order for our brains to work really effectively in terms of our long-term memory, that we've got to revisit knowledge that we've been taught. We know that due to the forgetting element of our brains, and remember we've done this in tutor time, that idea of the forgetting curve, where we expect that we're going to forget things. So in order to keep really important knowledge in our long-term memory that we can then draw on and use when we need to use it, we have to revisit really important information. Make sure that when you're doing any form of studying at home, whether you're preparing for exams or you're preparing for an assessment, or you just want to revisit something that you did in a lesson which maybe you just forgotten, and maybe your retrieval quizzes at the start of lessons have highlighted that to you, make sure that you're doing this without your notes. It's really important that you've not got your notes in front of you in order to get the most out of it. And if your brain's hurting a little bit and you're finding it a little bit challenging, then you know you're definitely doing the right thing. Lots of us, and definitely I made this mistake when I was learning and studying, we like to read things, we like to highlight things, we like to write things down, copying for instance. And all these things seem like we're being really successful at the moment, in that moment. We also know that even though it feels like we're being successful, that these methods of copying, highlighting, just rereading actually are not as effective as using self-quizzing, brain dumps and flashcards. So go for the thing that feels a little bit more difficult in the moment, but actually is going to do your long-term memory good. So make sure that you use those methods. Hopefully that's been helpful to you, and we'll follow on some other videos that you'll be able to watch are more subject specific, so you can perhaps see some of these methods that I've been talking about more generally, specifically applied to how you can use them to study and to revise for your different subjects.